Hey guys, Infinity here. I just wanted to get my thoughts out on Cyberpunk and basically wanted to give sort of like a review. Not really a review, but kind of wanted to get my thoughts on the game, my opinion on it, and all that good stuff. So I figured, hey, why not? I might as well just get this channel going and give my honest opinions from a real gamer. So I guess we should probably just go back to the beginning here and talk a little bit about the background of how my initial hype began with this game. Um, I've always been a fan of the cyberpunk genre, going back to my early days. I was big into films, and Blade Runner has always been one of my favorite movies of all time. It's easily in my top five, just because of the atmosphere, the world, and just the pure amazingness of the setting that was created uh, by Sid Mead and Ridley Scott. Um, so right off the bat, the first teaser trailer they dropped, it was a long time ago now. It was like, I think it was back in 2012. That was an extremely impressive teaser. Like, everything about that was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for in a video game. The atmosphere, the setting, the possibilities of what you can do in this world with the body modifications, and just everything about it. I've always been a big sci-fi guy. Just the idea of this world where you can basically almost have like a Blade Runner like experience, and just it was just amazing. That was just right off the bat, I was interested in the project. And even though like I knew it was also being developed by CDPR, which before I played Witcher 3, I never really was interested in their games, but Witcher 3 was the game that kind of made me interested in them as a company, because that was an impressive game. So the pedigree was there. I mean, I knew what these guys were capable of. Witcher 3 was an impressive game, very well made, and just hearing the talks about this game, watching the teaser videos, it seemed like this game was going to be pretty much right up my alley. Almost sort of like a dream game for me. So immediately I was hyped, waited to hear more from this game, from this title, and then everything just went silent. Everything went quiet. Years. Years went by. Part of me was kind of thinking about this game every now and then. Man, when is Cyberpunk gonna ever come out? Did they cancel the game? I was beginning to think that it wasn't even gonna be a project anymore. So, started hearing some rumors that there was a possibility of CDPR being at an E3. I believe it was in 2018. Yeah, 2018. And I got excited, man. I got very excited because they have to be showing Cyberpunk. Like, it has to be there. But I kept my expectations in check. Maybe they were doing a Witcher 4. Who knows? So I was watching E3, like I normally do. E3 was nearly over. Then they played they showed that teaser, man. And then they gave that demo. That 48-minute demo, I think, was probably one of the most impressive demos I've seen for a video game in a long, long while. Like, the hype was insane. Like, it's crazy because like certain games, like, it's almost like it was too good to be true, because what they were trying to show off, and basically everything they had in that demo was, it pretty much lived up to the hype. But we all know now what really happened, and I think that's an interesting thing to talk about later on. But suffice to say, I was more than hyped. I was more than hyped. So, yeah, this whole project, went on for a while, and I just want to talk about the delays because when they first announced the release date in the E3 demo, I was kind of just like, wow, man. It's been 7 years. I'm actually getting this game now. 7 years. That is a long time to wait for a video game to come out. So they announced the release date, eagerly anticipating it, waiting. Game got delayed. And it wasn't a short delay, because, a lot of games nowadays, if they delay it, they'll delay it for a few months, which is, a normal delay. These guys delayed the game for almost 7 months. Almost an entire year. So I said to myself, you know what? It's probably fine. They are probably trying to make this game to be the game that everyone wants. So I said, you know what? Take the time. Take the time. Do what you gotta do. I'll let you guys polish this thing and make it the game that everyone is excited for, everyone wants. It has to live up to the hype. So when they deleted it again, I was still in the same mindset. I said, you know what? Go ahead and delay it. Take the time you need. Polish it up. Make it live up to the hype. And then they delayed it a third time. Something in me realized at that point, something is wrong. There's some kind of trouble in paradise here. I don't think I've ever remembered a game being delayed 3 times, especially after 2 very long delays, especially after announcing a release date. So at that point, I was kind of thinking to myself, maybe this game might not be living up to what my expectations are. It kind of came in my head real quick. I was like, you know what? Maybe I should temper my expectations a little bit with this thing. So they started releasing more trailers, more gameplay footage, and man, I tell you, everything looked on point. Everything looked on point. Like, I wasn't worried about anything. The cinematics, the graphics, the weapons, everything they showed in those Night City Wire videos looked very impressive. So the game comes out. I'm there waiting for it. I actually had to work the next day, so I was actually staying up to play it, just because I wanted to get in there and basically make my character and drive around a little bit, get to know the city. Oh boy. Yeah, let me tell you something, guys. Let me tell you something. I had the fortunate position of playing the game on PC, so even though I was kind of immune from most of the performance issues that people had on the PS4 and the Xbox One, I wasn't ready for this launch. I really wasn't expecting this. Now, this is just kind of my aside. I'm going to talk more about the actual quality of the game and what I liked about it, and why I think you should still play it. But pretty much, see, at this point, like this game, this game became like one of the most hyped games of the last like 10 years. And when it comes out in a state like this, where it's not even that, like, you know how some games when you're playing them and you do kind of dumb shit and you're just kind of trying to break the world to see like what happens, and then you encounter glitches because you're trying to do things the game doesn't want really to do. In this game, you're experiencing game-breaking glitches just by playing normally. Like, on my first playthrough, I experienced a game-breaking glitch whereby, like, I almost couldn't complete the game because of what happened. That's unacceptable. Like, how do you release a game like this? Especially after delaying it 3 times. Like, my mind was blown. Like, I just can't believe how, like, how can you release it in this state? Like, I shudder to think because, like, they were trying to release this game in April. April of April of 2020. Can you imagine how the game would have been if it came out in April 2020? When they had all these months and months and months and months to basically polish this game? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I was experiencing has pretty much gotten patched out. I mean, the big issue for me was really just like seeing that kind of stuff while I'm going through the campaign kind of just immediately just pulls you right out of the game. Immediately pulls you out of the experience. And you just remember you're playing a game. You just remember you're playing a video game again. Which, unfortunately, for a game like this, which is based on like kind of immersing you in the world, it's a huge no-no. Like, this is the last thing you want happening while people playing your game. You know? So, I mean, that being said, I did complete the campaign mode, and I just kind of sort of went through the entire main quest line without doing any side missions. I finished the game in about 15 hours. And yeah, I want to get into my actual thoughts now of how I feel about the game in relationship to the hype and what we actually got as far as the product goes. Okay, first things first. The first impression of this game is pretty much amazing. Like, the first thing you notice about it is that the whole vibe of Night City, the environmental detail, the intro, the character creation, all this stuff is kind of very well made, and gives you a very sort of like almost like a GTA-ish sort of intro, whereby like you can basically pick one of 3 different intros to sort of make your way into Night City. And I just wanted to say, because like Night City might possibly be the wildest, craziest, like most visually like amazing open world like I've ever been in. Like, just in terms of like, wow. Like, the first time you drive up in there, Jackie's driving, you're in the rain, you're sitting in the car looking out the window, you're seeing the city, you're seeing the lights, you're seeing like all this craziness. It is a lot to take in. So at this point, I'm playing the game and I'm like, wow, this is my jam. This is exactly what I wanted. But the crazy thing about this game is that the more you dig into it, as far as the world, the more you start to kind of see that you can see sort of the cracks between the seams, so to speak. All right, let me get more specific. Basically, although the world is visually stunning and interesting to be in, it's almost like an amusement park ride. You start looking too closely at certain things, you start to realize it's all really just an illusion. Now, this is one of my complaints, and one of the things that I think that really has to be fixed. And I hope CD Projekt Red really goes into this and patches this in. But when you make an open world game like this, there's no shortage of references that you can take from. I mean, it's fair to say that this is CDPR's first open world game, so I can cut them some slack in that respect. But when you have companies like Rockstar out there who has been doing this for many, many years, you should really just pay attention to that and use that as a template for your game. I'm not saying copy everything down to the last detail. I'm just saying there are certain basic foundational rules and blueprints for these types of open world games that should always be there. You know? Like the police system. I really believe the police system in this game was sort of just a placeholder system that they threw in at the last minute. Because there's no way that this can be what they had in mind for the final game. So let me tell you how this system works. Basically, if you do a crime in this game, the police would spawn behind you. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, you could be in the middle of nowhere and they'll spawn behind you. That is unbelievable. And which is why I say that I think that this system wasn't completed and they just kind of had to ship the game. So they just put something in there as a placeholder just so that it works. Because these guys talked about this in previous interviews, and they talked about how, like, well, there's gonna be police corruption, and they even reference Max Tech at the beginning of the game in a little cinematic. So you're thinking to yourself, wow, so you're telling me if I go crazy like in GTA and I get enough stars, these guys, these Max Tech guys, are gonna show up and wipe me out. So right away, it kind of seems odd that you would put something like that in the game and then not pay it off later on. But that's fine and well. The next thing they gotta do is they gotta fix the AI in this game, because essentially all the AI in this game is the most rudimentary pathfinding AI that I've ever seen in an open world game. Pretty much, the cars just drive in their paths, and there's absolutely no reaction to you unless you block their path, in which case they won't even like try to go around your car. They'll just sort of stop in their place and wait for you to move. And the same goes for the civilians. Although the civilians look really realistic and interesting in detail, and there's a lot of different varieties of people, and I think that's the strong suit of it, because I don't think there's been a game that has this sort of like quality of like NPCs that I've seen, at least. But they really don't react to you in a realistic manner. They all kind of have that same sort of, oh, there's danger, everyone react the same way sort of scripting, which I think kind of just, it pulls you out of the game. It really pulls you out of the game. So that being said, I think I should probably just talk about the campaign and how I felt about it. This game was good, man. Um, I think that there was a few ways in which they could have taken the story in better places. And you know what? Let me just say this. I'm trying to put some non-spoilery stuff. I mean, this is not going to be a spoiler. I don't think there's anything in this game that really would be worth talking around. I mean, I don't need to really bring up any spoilers to express my points. But yeah, so I was happy with the campaign. I thought it was good up until the ending, which I felt was kind of a very depressing ending, and I'm kind of left thinking like I don't even know where they can really go from here, as far as DLC goes and continuing the story. But I'm guessing that just is because of the way that I played the first time through. I kind of just mainlined the story, and I didn't really do any of the side quests. So that's the first thing that I'm thinking is leading to up to what ending I got. But from what I've been hearing, a lot of people have said that there are multiple endings, but they're kind of all slightly different. So right now I'm on my second playthrough to see if I can sort of get a better ending out of this thing. But I can definitely say, um, playing through a second time and really digging my teeth into the game and doing a lot of the side quests now and kind of just really, really immersing myself and doing everything and exploring everything. My second playthrough has already been significantly better. I've done a lot more story missions and side missions, and believe it or not, a lot of the side missions in this game are actually better than the missions that you encounter in the main storyline, which is kind of crazy to think about. Because if you're one of those people who plays a game once and just mainlines the main story, you're missing a lot of content, which is a shame because I think a lot of people ended up doing that and they felt kind of like the game was a bit too short. But honestly, a lot of the positives of this game are actually the quests. And I think that is what CDPR really focused on with this title. And I think that is the reason why I am still playing the game and still interested in it. Because they put their money and time into the thing that really didn't matter. And really, it's the quest design and the missions and the quests that really stand out to me in this title. So really, I mean, it comes down to just the experience, the people you meet, the missions that you embark on, the characters. I mean, for God's sakes, man, like this game has some of the best characters I've met in the game in a while, man. I mean, Jackie will go down in history, man. You know? I mean, like just some of the situations they put you in. It's just really, really good stuff, man. Like you genuinely feel a connection with these people. And it's very smart how they integrated sort of the phone aspect into it because people will like send you random phone calls, they'll text you, and there's some actually very funny Easter eggs within the texts that happen when you meet certain characters. And I think that whole dynamic of just making friends, connections, the people, and just kind of just the whole vibe of like Night City and what it is and what it represents, and it is definitely like one of the most interesting places I've been in a video game. Not just visually, but as in terms of just the lore. For God's sakes, man, like it feels like a place that really exists, which I think is it's kind of ironic because everything else about the game, besides the AI and the small little nitpicks I can make about the way that the world operates, everything else about it just feels so real. You know, I just wish that Well, I'm hoping that CDPR keeps adding to this game and filling in the gaps, because there's some very obvious gaps that should be there. Because this game clearly was not ready, like it was not finished, and it's sad because had they taken, I don't know, another year and really fleshed out these elements, these little flaws in there, Cyberpunk might have been close to living up to the hype. I really do think that. You know? Because it's all stuff that can be fixed with more development time. And thank God we live in an age now where, like, you can just go in there and add more to the game as it's being, you know, released. I really do feel like almost like this game is sort of like a early access game in many respects, because they're gonna keep adding to it. They're gonna keep adding to it as time goes on, and it's really unfortunate that the game sort of released in this state, because there's people I know who can't even play the game. Like, God only knows, like, guys that bought this game on the PS4 and the Xbox One, those guys, like, I feel horrible because, like, I can't even talk about the game with them because they can't play it. Like, it doesn't matter, like, if you're releasing a game on a platform, like, I understand it has to be, there has to be concessions to be made. Like, there was no way that this game was going to come out and be the same quality on PC as it was on 7-year-old hardware. It was not going to happen. But at least make the game playable. Like, the game wasn't even playable. So is it now the fault of the gamer who purchased a gaming machine back 7 years ago for a game that was developed on that machine, and now it's their fault that they can't play it? That's ridiculous. Like, it falls solely on CDPR. They really made a mistake and a misjudgment with that. So hopefully, I hope that they are able to at least get those people to play the game at a somewhat decent state, And it's just a huge lesson, man. Which is crazy because you you think that these guys would have known about this, especially delaying it as much as they did. Reading all the comments from people and what they were saying, please take your time. We understand, take your time. Their fans, CD Projekt Red fans, have been extremely gracious. Like, these guys have had patience like you would not believe. And then to turn around and just kind of just throw all that in the dumpster is a shame, man. It really is. Hopefully they've learned from it, though, and eventually when this game is patched up and we hopefully get DLC for the future, this game can really live up to what it should be. But yeah, I mean, in its current state on PC, which I'm playing right now, I still haven't completed every single thing in the game. I'm about 70 hours in, and I'm enjoying myself. I'm really, really, really enjoying the game. And it's a real shame because having to ignore like the issues and put that kind of stuff onto the side, it just really takes a lot away from the experience. It really does. But I can definitely say my time so far in Night City has been pretty amazing, man. Like, I really do think people should play this game because it is, by definition, I think, diamond in the rough. Like, it's kind of insane because you can really see the love, attention, and detail that was put into certain aspects of this game. Like there are certain things about this game that are so incredibly polished, like to an insane level, and I'm just like, why couldn't they just do that for everything? It almost feels kind of like they had different teams of people working on different things at different times, because the animation quality of some of the interactions you have with people while you're talking to them, and the way that they move and act and they just kind of behave like real human beings, and little things like that are just unbelievably like painstaking in terms of animation to do, and it really shows. It really shows. And then there's obvious things that are like, for example, like your character in first person, like you can see the shadow of your character in certain instances, and it is just the most janky looking, poorly animated character model that I think I've ever seen. But it's just like, how did you let that pass? But you put so much detail and effort in other areas. Like my character doesn't even have a shadow of hair. I just have a bald-headed character. Like when I look at my shadow in the game, it's a bald-headed character running around. I feel like I'm Hitman. So it's things like that that are like obvious things that just were not done for some reason. And then like you look at stuff like the interiors of some of the cars and just how painstakingly detailed they are, and it's just like, wow, man. Even the cityscapes, looking at the buildings and the detail and the border and the borders around the advertisements and everything's, like, man, you just want to stop sometimes and just look at things in this game. Like you just want to look at everything. So that's about it. I mean, hopefully, a lot of the issues that I mentioned get fixed. And if you're on the fence about this game, absolutely play it, because I think there's a lot of value in this game, a lot of heart, a lot of soul, a lot of love put into this game, and it is so close to being a masterpiece. It's just slow. It's just obvious things that just glaring mistakes that just were made. That shouldn't have been made. That's all I really have. I am very much looking forward to seeing the future of this game, and hopefully with the DLC coming, they address a lot of the issues that people are having right now. And yeah, I'm excited, man. I really enjoyed this world, and I want to see more of it. You know, it's a big lesson, man. It's a big lesson to be learned here, man. If you generate hype, you know, you generate the hype, you gotta live up to the hype. That's all I got, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Um, this is a fairly new channel, so if you liked it, like it. If you dislike it, let me know why. And hopefully there'll be more of this content coming up. And I'll talk to you guys hopefully in the next one.